My childhood bully became my boss, and he's still making my life hell. Ever feel like the universe is playing a sick joke on you? I landed what was supposed to be a dream job, decent pay, solid benefits, good location. But on day one, I walked into the conference room and froze. Sitting at the head of the table was Jason Keller. The same Jason Keller who used to shove my face into lockers, call me Pisspants Pete in front of girls, and make every single day of middle school feel like a war zone. I need advice. Because it's been 6 months, and I think I'm starting to lose my mind. So yeah, I guess the title kind of says it all. I, 31M, started a new job earlier this year at a mid-size marketing firm. After grinding for years in a bunch of contract gigs and startups that folded faster than a bad poker hand, I finally landed something stable. Good salary. Benefits. A freaking espresso machine in the break room. The kind of stuff I used to fantasize about when I was 24 and living off instant noodles. My girlfriend, Lily, was thrilled. She bought me a new tie and a really nice pen for my first day. She even packed me lunch like we were in some cheesy rom-com. But that first morning, I walked into the meeting room for onboarding, and there he was. Jason. Fucking Keller. It took me a second to even process it. He'd changed, broader shoulders, expensive haircut, tailored suit, but his smirk. That same condescending little twist of the mouth that used to make my stomach churn. It hadn't aged a day. Peter Beaumont, he said, standing up with that bullshit salesman energy. No way. From Jefferson Middle. Man, small world. I nodded. I shook his hand. I even laughed a little. What the hell else was I supposed to do? I played it cool. Tried to tell myself it didn't matter. We were adults now, right? Maybe he'd grown up. Maybe I had, too. Spoiler, I was wrong. For the first few weeks, I kept my head down. I'm not a loud guy. I'm good at what I do, creative copywriting, branding campaigns, stuff like that, but I don't go out of my way to be seen. I thought if I worked hard and didn't make waves, maybe Jason would just forget I existed. Instead, it was like middle school all over again, except now the insults were dressed up in HR-safe language. He'd say things like, "Pete's got a unique approach to deadlines." Or, "Let's not overthink this, Pete, just write it like you would in your little Tumblr blog." He called me Pistol Pete in meetings, which sounds harmless unless you know it's a callback to how I peed myself in gym class in 7th grade. He made damn sure the interns knew that story, too. Always laughing, always casual. Just banter. You know how it is. I kept trying to brush it off. Lily told me maybe he didn't mean it. That I should document stuff, go to HR if it got worse. But HR's a joke. It's 2 people. One of them orders birthday cupcakes. The other is Jason's golf buddy. It got worse anyway. My ideas started getting shot down before I could finish pitching them. Projects I led got reassigned at the last minute with no explanation. He once CC'd the whole team to remind me about a deadline I hadn't even been late on. And I know what you're thinking. Grow a spine. Stand up for yourself. But this job is the first thing in years that's felt like a real chance. I have student loans. Rent. Plans to propose to Lily soon. I can't just throw it all away because my teenage nightmare decided to pick up where he left off. But last week something happened, and I don't know if I can keep pretending it's nothing. We were doing this big campaign for a travel client. It was the first project I'd fully owned, strategy, slogans, everything. I worked my ass off. Late nights. Gave up a weekend trip with Lily to finish the deck. Jason presented it to the client as his own. Like, word for word. Didn't even change the font. He just slapped his name on the front page and said, "My team pulled this together under my direction." Then he looked right at me and winked. The client loved it. It's going national. I went home that night and stared at my ceiling for 2 hours. Didn't even eat. Lily kept asking what was wrong and I couldn't put it into words. I'm not just angry. I feel erased. Like I'm 13 again, hiding in the bathroom during lunch because I couldn't handle one more day of this guy's shit. And I know I should do something. Say something. But what? Quit. Escalate. Start secretly recording him like this is some whistleblower documentary. I don't want revenge. I just want to be able to do my job without feeling like I'm slowly losing pieces of myself. I never thought I'd be 31 and still haunted by a bully. Anyway. That's where I'm at. Open to advice. Or maybe just some validation that I'm not crazy. I didn't sleep much after that night. The next morning, I stared at my reflection while brushing my teeth and had this moment of clarity, or panic, maybe both, where I thought, is this my life now? Just swallowing shit sandwiches with a smile until retirement. I was late to the office. Didn't even mean to be, I just missed my usual train. Jason noticed. Of course he did. He strolled past my desk mid-morning, coffee in hand, leaned down, and whispered just loud enough for the guy next to me to hear, "Rough morning, pistol. Hope it wasn't performance anxiety after yesterday's big win." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. And that was the moment I hated myself a little bit. That tiny, awkward, appeasing laugh. I'm ashamed of how long I let it go on. But something shifted in me that day. I started writing everything down. Every comment. Every time he joked about me in front of people. Every project where he took credit or sabotaged my work. At first it felt petty, like I was being paranoid. But it also made me feel grounded. Like I wasn't imagining it. Then came the email. He forwarded one of my internal drafts, rough draft, mind you, to a senior exec with a subject line that just said, "Pete's creative genius at work face with tears of joy." The email had typos. I hadn't even proofed it yet. It wasn't meant to leave the internal doc. The exec didn't reply, but the next time I saw her in the hallway, she gave me the tight-lipped smile people give you when they think you're a joke. That night, I finally told Lily everything. Not just the recent stuff, all of it. Jason, middle school, the nickname, how much it still messed with my head. She didn't say much at first. Just sat next to me, hand on my leg. Then she said, "Babe, this guy is still in your head like he's 13 and you're 12. He's not smarter than you. He's just louder." I didn't want to hear that. Because it made me realize something I'd been avoiding. I was still scared of him. Not in a physical sense, not anymore, but in that deep, emotional way that comes from years of being made to feel small. Worthless. Like you don't matter. The worst part? He still had that power. The next few days, I tried to hold my head higher. Walked a little straighter. Said no once in a meeting when he tried to dump busy work on me in front of the team. He laughed it off, but I saw something in his eyes. A flicker. Like he'd noticed the shift. I started talking to some coworkers more. Quietly. Carefully. I didn't bring up bullying or harassment or any legal buzzwords. I just asked questions, made conversation. Turns out, I'm not the only one. One guy, Ben, a designer, told me he was on anxiety meds now, partly because of the toxic management style. Another said Jason's been blocking promotions unless people prove loyalty, whatever the hell that means. There's a marketing assistant who quit after 3 months and called him a narcissist in her exit interview. I felt a weird mix of relief and horror. It wasn't just me. But it also wasn't just me. Jason had built his little empire out of fear and charm and favoritism, and somehow no one had taken him down. Or maybe no one thought they could. I'm not saying I want to lead some kind of office rebellion, but I can't keep letting this guy walk all over me. So I did something small. Maybe dumb. Definitely risky. On Friday, we had our usual weekly wrap meeting where Jason likes to go full Steve Jobs. At one point he made a crack about how I finally met a deadline without tears. I smiled. Waited for the laughter to die down. Then I said, casually, "That's weird. I don't remember crying, but I do remember writing every line of that campaign deck you claimed credit for." Dead silence. People glanced around, unsure if it was a joke or a throwdown. Jason's face twitched for a second, just a second, then he chuckled and said, "Team effort, bud. That's how this works." I didn't press. Didn't need to. The moment hung there like smoke. Uncomfortable. Tangible. Later, Ben sent me a Slack message. Dude. Holy shit. Respect. It was small. But it felt like the first breath I'd taken in weeks. I don't know what comes next. I'm still scared, still unsure. But I'm also tired of being afraid of a guy whose peak was being king of a middle school cafeteria. I think I'm ready to fight back. Or at least, stop running. Anyone been through something like this? I could really use some guidance on how to keep going without burning my whole life down in the process. So, things escalated. First off, thank you to everyone who commented on the last post. Honestly, I didn't expect much, maybe a few people saying, yeah, he sucks, but I read every single response. A lot of you said I was being too soft. That I needed to document everything, go above HR, talk to a lawyer. Some of you even suggested going scorched earth. And I gotta admit, maybe you're right. Because this week, Jason went from annoying to dangerous. It started Monday morning. I walked into the office and my computer was locked out. Thought maybe IT was just doing an update, but nope. Apparently, I was flagged for suspicious activity. They pulled me into a tiny conference room with the head of HR, Cheryl, the cupcake lady, and Jason himself. Jason played the role of concerned leader. Said there'd been reports of inappropriate behavior, confidentiality concerns, and something about aggressive communication with coworkers. I was like, what the hell are you even talking about? I asked what the actual accusations were. Cheryl said she couldn't disclose details during an active review process. Jason sat there nodding like a smug asshole, sipping his stupid protein shake. I don't even drink. I don't yell. I've never sent an angry email in my life. But suddenly I'm some kind of office menace. It was clearly retaliation. For what I said in the meeting. For standing up. For not being a doormat. I left the room shaking. Not crying, just vibrating. I sat in my car and texted Lily, told her everything. She called me right away and said, babe, we need to get ahead of this. That night, we pulled out every note I'd taken. Every Slack message. Every time-stamped email where Jason claimed credit or made jokes. I organized it all into a folder. Started drafting a timeline. Then I called a lawyer. Not gonna lie, it felt dramatic. But the moment I explained the situation, the lawyer didn't laugh. He took it seriously. Told me to keep everything. Told me I had rights. He also said something that stuck with me. Bullies don't change. They just get better at hiding it. I kept going to work. Quietly. Carefully. I smiled when I had to. But I stopped engaging. No jokes. No banter. I documented everything. My lawyer said to treat it like a chess match, not a bar fight. Then came the twist. Ben, the designer I mentioned earlier, invited me to get coffee. We walked to this little place a few blocks from the office. As soon as we sat down, he looked around like we were in a spy movie and said, listen. I don't know how to say this, but I think Jason's got someone watching you. Apparently, Jason's been telling people I'm unstable. That I might lash out. Even suggested I was spreading rumors to damage the company. I felt sick. Like physically nauseous. Because once you're painted as the problem, it's only a matter of time before people believe it. That night, I had a full-blown anxiety attack. First one in years. Lily found me sitting on the bathroom floor, clutching my chest. I couldn't catch my breath. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my body. She sat with me. Didn't say much. Just held my hand until I could breathe again. I'm so tired, Reddit. I'm tired of being gaslit. Tired of playing nice. Tired of feeling like I'm one joke away from snapping and becoming the villain in my own story. But here's the thing, Jason doesn't scare me anymore. Not really. I see him now. He's not powerful. He's just loud. Insecure. The same pathetic kid who needed to make someone else feel small so he could feel big. He didn't change. But I did. So I made a decision. I sent an email to HR. A formal complaint. With attachments. Dates. Evidence. I CC'd legal. I don't know what will happen. I might lose my job. I might burn a few bridges. But at least I won't lose myself. Lily said she's proud of me. And for the first time in months, I believe her. Update 1. Hey Reddit. Wow. Didn't expect this many people to respond. I woke up the day after my last post and my inbox was blowing up, messages from strangers, DMs, even a couple people who said they'd gone through almost the exact same thing. A lot of you said I was being too soft. That I should have done something months ago. And yeah, maybe you're right. I kept hoping if I just kept my head down, Jason would eventually get bored. That he'd outgrow it. But people like him don't outgrow that crap, they refine it. Turn it into something that wears a suit and smiles during performance reviews. So here's what's happened since my last post. After I sent the complaint, HR didn't respond immediately. 2 days went by. Total radio silence. I started second-guessing everything. Lily kept telling me to breathe, to be patient, but my brain was spinning. What if they were preparing to fire me? What if Jason was already running damage control behind closed doors? Then on Wednesday, I got called into another meeting. This time, it wasn't in the tiny room near the kitchen, it was upstairs. The executive floor. That was a first. It was me, Cheryl from HR, and a woman I'd never met before. She introduced herself as Monica, corporate legal liaison. Not an outside lawyer, but someone from HQ. Apparently, my email had gotten attention. Not because Cheryl passed it on, she didn't, but because someone in the legal department caught wind that there were multiple informal reports of managerial misconduct tied to Jason over the last 2 years, and that mine was the most detailed. Monica was calm. Professional. Asked me to walk through everything, dates, names, examples. I did. I told her everything. Even the embarrassing stuff from middle school. Even Pistol Pete. At the end of it, she nodded and said, "Thank you for your honesty. This isn't the first complaint we've had about Mr. Keller's leadership style, just the first one that came with receipts." That word, receipts, almost made me laugh. Like I was on a reality show or something. After that, things moved fast. By Friday, Jason was placed on leave pending internal review. They didn't make an announcement, didn't even say his name. Just that there'd be a temporary shift in leadership. Cheryl looked like she'd eaten a lemon that morning. Ben found me by the elevators and said, "Dude. Holy crap. You actually did it." I told him I didn't do anything. I just refused to be quiet. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. Like I walked out of there with rocky music playing and my fists in the air. But the truth is, I just felt numb. There's something weirdly sad about seeing your bully fall. Even when they deserve it. Maybe it's because it forces you to realize how long you let them define you. I've been walking around carrying this fear for half my life. And now that he's gone, maybe not forever, but at least out of my orbit, I'm not sure what to do with the space he left behind. A few people at work have been super supportive. Others are clearly uncomfortable, like they're not sure if they're allowed to talk to me. One guy actually said, "You're not gonna come after the rest of us, right?" Like I'm some kind of whistleblower terminator. Lily thinks I should take some time off. Clear my head. She's probably right. But part of me feels like if I stop moving, it'll all catch up to me. Anyway, I'm not sure what happens next. Monica said the investigation could take weeks. Maybe months. Maybe Jason's out for good. Maybe he comes back. Maybe I leave first. But at least now, people know. I'm not invisible anymore. And to the guy who'd met me to say, "Your story made me realize I'm still letting someone from my past control me," that hit me hard, man. You're not alone. None of us are. I'll post another update when I know more. Thanks again, Reddit. Seriously. You gave me more backbone than I realized I had. Update 2. Hey again, Reddit. I wasn't planning to post so soon, but, yeah. Things took a turn. A big one. First off, thanks again for all the support. I've been reading the comments when I can, and it honestly means more than I can explain. Some of you shared your own stories, some of you gave legal advice, and a few of you just said, "We see you." That alone made all the difference. But buckle up, because this week's been wild. Let's start with Monday. I came in planning to keep a low profile, do my job, mind my business, maybe even follow Lily's advice and request a week off. But when I walked into the office, something felt off. You know when people stop talking the second you enter a room? Yeah. That. I chalked it up to discomfort. Maybe they were worried they'd be next, or maybe they thought I was some kind of corporate informant now. Honestly, I couldn't blame them. But then I got called into another meeting. Same room. Same Monica from corporate legal. But this time, someone else was there too, Jason's boss. Let's call him Greg. Greg had never spoken to me directly before. I'd seen him at company retreats, heard stories about how he played golf with board members and made dad jokes at quarterly meetings. But he walked in serious. Sat down. No smile. He looked me in the eye and said, "We need to talk about Jason. And we need to be honest." Then he dropped the bomb. Jason wasn't just on leave, he'd resigned. Quietly. No announcement. No goodbye email. Just packed up and left last Friday night after a conversation with corporate. I sat there stunned. Not relieved, not gloating, just stunned. But Greg wasn't done. Apparently, my complaint triggered something deeper. A deeper audit. Legal had been sitting on a few internal flags for a while, minor stuff they didn't think warranted action. But my report, and the backup from Ben and a few others, painted a much darker picture. Jason hadn't just been a bully. He'd been manipulating numbers. Padding campaign data. Reframing project outcomes to make his teams look more successful than they were. And in at least one case, flat-out falsifying budget expenses to make it look like he pulled off a campaign with less money than was actually spent. Fraud. That's what they're investigating now. I asked Greg straight up, "So what happens next?" He sighed, looked tired, and said, "Now we clean up. It's not your job to fix this, Pete. You did the right thing by speaking up. But here's where things got complicated." After that meeting, I got called into HR again. Different vibe this time. Cheryl was more neutral. She said there was internal debate about whether to issue a formal company-wide statement. Some leadership wanted to move on quietly. Others wanted transparency. Then she said, "Just so you're aware, some people are pushing a narrative that this all happened because of personal vendettas." There it was. I asked, "Are you saying I'm being blamed?" She gave that tight smile HR people use when they don't want to say yes but don't want to lie either. I left the room shaking again, but not from fear this time. From anger. I busted my ass at this company. I kept my mouth shut for months. And now that I finally speak up, with proof, I'm the one they're trying to paint as vengeful. Lily told me to come home early that day. I did. We ordered greasy takeout and she let me rant for an hour. At one point I said, "What if I am the villain now?" She didn't even flinch. Just looked at me and said, "So what?" Sometimes the villain is just the first person brave enough to say the truth out loud. God, I love her. But here's what I realized this week, this whole thing, it's not about Jason anymore. It's about power. About systems that let people like him thrive. About offices that value results over ethics. About how long people are willing to look away, as long as they're not the ones getting burned. I've been thinking a lot about who I used to be. That kid who flinched when someone laughed too loud. Who dreaded gym class. Who felt like no matter how much he did, it was never enough to be worth kindness. That kid deserved better. So now I've got a choice to make. I can step back, keep my head down, and let the company sweep this under the rug. Or I can lean in. Make noise. Share the story. Maybe even go public. I haven't decided yet. I'm scared. I won't lie. But for the first time in a long time, I'm also clear. I see things now. The patterns. The enablers. The excuses. And maybe, just maybe, I've got the spine to do something about it. Update 3. Alright, Reddit. Strap in. I didn't think I'd be posting again this soon, but something happened. Something big. You ever have one of those moments where time just stops? Like your brain can't quite catch up to what your eyes are seeing, what your ears are hearing. That was me last Friday. Let me back up. After my last update, I took a couple personal days. Lily insisted. We rented a cabin about 2 hours out of the city, no Wi-Fi, no notifications, just us and a lot of bad coffee. It was quiet. Peaceful. For the first time in forever, I didn't wake up with a weight on my chest. When we got back, my inbox was chaos. Meeting invites, HR follow-ups, Slack threads blowing up with people speculating about Jason's departure. There was this weird mix of relief and paranoia in the office, like people were glad he was gone but weren't sure if it was okay to say it out loud. Then Thursday afternoon, I got an email. Just one line in the preview. "Hey Pete, we should talk." It was from Jason. No subject line. Just that sentence. I stared at it for a solid 5 minutes, heart pounding. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Monica from legal and closed my laptop. But Friday he showed up. I was walking back from lunch, holding this limp excuse of a turkey wrap, when I saw him across the street, just standing there. In a hoodie and jeans, looking totally out of place in the sea of business casual. For a second, I thought I was imagining it. But then he waved. Like we were old friends meeting for a drink. I ducked into the building and went straight to the front desk. Told security. They said they'd already flagged him trying to badge in earlier that day. Said he was just picking up some stuff, the guy told me. Didn't seem like a threat. I went up to my floor. 15 minutes later, I got a Slack from Ben. "Dude. Jason is in the lobby." I went cold. Apparently, he waited until shift change at the front desk, walked right in, and started talking to people. Casually. Like nothing had happened. By the time security caught on, he'd made it to our floor. And then, because life loves irony, he walked straight into the break room. While I was there. Alone. He looked thinner. Not sickly, just deflated. His usual cocky posture was gone. He had this tired smile on his face, like he was trying to sell sincerity but forgot the script. "Hey Pete," he said, like he wasn't 5 feet from a formal investigation. I didn't say anything. Just stared. I figured we should talk. You know. Clear the air. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was surreal. "You want to clear the air," I said. "After everything?" Jason shrugged. "I didn't think it would go this far." "You mean, me standing up? Or you getting caught lying?" His jaw clenched for a second, but he kept the fake calm tone. "Look, I know I was hard on you. We've got history. But we were just kids back then, right?" "No," I said. "You were just a kid. I was your target." He went quiet. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You know, this whole thing, it wasn't personal. You just made it easy." That's when it hit me. It was never about some unresolved childhood grudge. It wasn't even about me, not really. It was about power. Jason bullied because he could. Because people let him. Because no one ever told him to sit the hell down. Until I did. I walked past him and hit the security button under the break room counter. Quietly. Calmly. Like he wasn't even worth raising my voice over. By the time security got there, he was already muttering something about just saying goodbye and closure. They walked him out. No drama. No scene. Just gone. I haven't heard from him since. Monica said they're filing a formal no-contact order. She also said the investigation is wrapping up, and that I might be asked to participate in a wider audit across other departments. Apparently, Jason's behavior wasn't isolated. There are other Jasons. Shocking, I know. Here's what's weird, though, I don't feel triumphant. I don't feel like I won. I feel free. Not completely. Not forever. But enough to breathe again. People have started talking more openly in the office. Sharing stories. Connecting dots. I'm not a ghost anymore. I'm not Pistol Pete. I'm just Pete. A guy who stood up because no one else would. I'm not sure what comes next. Maybe I stay. Maybe I find a new job. Maybe I start writing again, like Lily keeps telling me to. But I do know this. The moment you stop letting someone else define your worth, that's the moment you start becoming real again. Thanks for sticking with me, Reddit. I'll post one final update once this whole thing is officially over. Final update. Hey Reddit. So. This is probably the last time I'll post about this. It's been a few weeks since the last update. A lot's changed, and I finally feel like I'm standing on solid ground again. Not waiting for the next email, or HR ping, or unexpected break room encounter. Let's start with the obvious. Jason is gone. Officially. Permanently. They sent out a formal internal memo last week. Didn't name him directly, just said a senior manager had resigned following an internal investigation into professional misconduct. But we all knew who it was. What the memo didn't say was that he'd also been reported to the Industry Ethics Board. Or that the company voluntarily revised a few past campaign case studies after discovering some, let's say, creative math. That part. That happened because of me. And Ben. And 3 others who came forward after I did. We didn't form some alliance or anything. No Avengers of corporate accountability. Just regular people who'd had enough. The company offered me a promotion. That surprised me. Greg called me into his office and said they wanted to recognize my leadership during a difficult time. He said the role came with more visibility, more responsibility, and, of course, a title bump. I asked for a day to think about it. He nodded. Said he understood. Then I declined. Not because I didn't want it. Not because I was being noble. But because I realized something: I don't want to keep climbing a ladder built on people like Jason. I've been operating in survival mode for so long, I forgot to ask myself what I actually want. And this isn't it. So I put in my notice. I gave them a month. Wrapped up my projects. Trained a couple of junior staffers. Even Cheryl looked sad when I left, which was almost sweet, in a weird HR robot sort of way. Ben took me out for drinks on my last day. He asked if I was scared. I said, terrified. And I meant it. But also, excited. Because I finally get to build something new. Lily and I talked about it, really talked. We're doing okay financially. Between some freelance offers and a little bit of savings, I've got breathing room. She told me, I'd rather have a partner who sleeps well at night than one who's chained to a desk. We even took a little weekend trip to the beach last week. Just us, bad sunburns, and one of those overpriced umbrella drinks. I laughed more in those 2 days than I had in the past 6 months. And now? Now I'm writing again. It's not a memoir or anything, just stories. Characters. Voices. But I can feel myself coming back to life with every word. I'm not chasing ghosts anymore. I'm making something that's mine. I still have scars. Emotional ones. You don't go through something like this clean. There are moments, random, stupid moments, where I still flinch. A voice in my head that whispers, what if you made it all up? What if you were the problem? But then I remember Jason's face in that break room. How he looked when he realized I wasn't scared of him anymore. And that voice. It shuts up. To everyone who's read this far, thank you. To those of you who messaged me, commented, shared your own stories, you helped me find my spine. You reminded me I wasn't crazy. That it's not petty to speak up. That it's not weak to feel broken and still fight through it. And to that one commenter who said, you're not Pete the punchline anymore, you're Pete the person. Yeah. I think I finally believe that. See you around, Reddit.